Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to
The Macabre Podcast Universe.
the podcast that exists
To prove people wrong when they say
sequels
are never better than the originals. We really fell apart there.
Yeah, which was intentional.
Yeah.
We really wanted to stress the chaos of the madness, as it were, of our podcast. Today, we go back to the well that is our namesake, the MCU. And we're talking about the 28th movie in the series, a movie called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And
Is it into?
It's in the Multiverse of Madness. And we saw this movie last night, a Thursday, one of the first showings of the movie here in the grand state of Oregon. And boy, what a time it was. So let's talk about it.
Care to share more?
Well, it was funny because we sort of have, I buy all the tickets to the movies.
You're the
It's kind
ticket
of my
guy.
job. And
You love it.
I love it. Yeah, of course I do. And so we get the tickets to the movie when we can, and I got a showing that I felt like it'd give us enough time to have dinner after work and be able to go to the movie and be relaxed. Now, a few weeks ago, another movie that we were required to cover came out called The Secret of Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
So is it no longer Fantastic Beasts and Where? No, because that was the...
No, it's Secrets of Dumbledore.
Let's move past
Doesn't
it.
matter. Anyway, so we went and saw that movie, and it was a 5:40 showing.
Yep.
And so, for some reason, Jordan was convinced that I had told her that Doctor Strange started at 5:40.
So I was in a mad rush.
So she's in a rush, and I tend to be the one that's a little bit more rushed when it comes to going to events and things, particularly movies. And so I was kind of like, well, this is kind of nice because we hadn't discussed it. I'm going, cool. Like, yeah, I'll follow you. And I'm like, oh, let me go to the bathroom. And you're kind of going, oh, we had to pick something up from your sister. And you were like texting her saying, we're not going to be able to do it before the movie. And I was kind of like, yeah, I guess not. Okay.
Then we get to the theater and get in our seats. And we're sitting there for several minutes. And I ask, it's weird. I feel like Tinseltown hasn't been playing the Nuvi stuff. Until like minutes before, when usually it's on for a lot longer.
Because I think that's a Cinemark thing. If you're someone who doesn't go to Cinemark theaters, Nuvi is like the pre-show show.
Every theater has it. Every theater company has it.
Yeah.
That's Cinemark's. And then I was just kind of noting, like, there are that many people here. So it's kind of weird for like an opening weekend of this movie.
Yeah.
And then I think I mentioned something about that. And then you said, well, the movie doesn't start till 6:10.
Yeah.
And I kicked myself.
And it was 5:50 at this point.
And I was so mad because it was just like, what a waste of time anymore to get to the theater this early.
It was just so funny because I really was confused the whole time.
But he didn't say anything, which I understood. We talked about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But we were able to see a lot of So I think I've said this on the podcast, but I think I've only faltered twice this year, I think. But I have been trying not to watch trailers outside of the theaters anymore because it's always more exciting to see it in the theater.
And then if you watch them out, like for someone like you who goes to the theater so often, what's the point of watching them on your phone when you're going to see them a million times in theaters? Exactly.
And usually, like if I watch on my computer or on my phone, something that maybe would be exciting is not as exciting. I've had that experience where I see a trailer in the theaters that I've seen, and I'm like, oh, I thought I didn't like how this movie looked, but it looks cool. And we got to see a couple of trailers that I've been really waiting on.
Yeah.
So one of them is Thor, Love and Thunder.
Yeah, that's going to be a wild ride.
I mean, we're here for Marvel. Let's talk about it. What do you think of that trailer?
I thought it was actually a good trailer.
I thought it was a great trailer.
There wasn't. I don't really know what's happening in a good way. They didn't really say anything other than the only thing that they told us what's going to happen is more Thor, like just character stuff.
Yeah,
which I'm all here for.
And it looks like we're gonna get a lot of Guardians.
Yeah, I really hope so.
And
and it looks there's an interesting thing with, is her name Valkyrie or does she fight for Valkyrie?
Yeah.
Whatever's going on with her.
There's one shot that was like, uh-oh.
But she's like wearing a pantsuit.
Yeah.
And then Yeah, Natalie Portman, the shot of her. It's like, yeah, I mean, she sucked in this series, but whatever. I'll watch this. And I'm sure that this is effects and everything, but she looked like massively buff to me.
Oh yeah, she probably just. I mean, she's like fair. She seems like she would be game to do something like that for a role.
But I'm wondering how buff she is, because in the shot that I saw, it was like, I don't know if she would want to be that buff.
Oh, okay.
Like, she looked that buff to me, is what I mean.
I didn't notice it in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple things that excited me is, go back and listen to our Thor Ragnarok episode. That's a good Marvel movie, but half of the movie, our take on it and my take on it is that half of the movie is awesome and like A-tier Marvel, and then the other half of the movie is C-tier Marvel. And so it evens out to maybe the movie's a little overhyped.
Yeah, it's like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm just going to rewatch sometimes.
Yeah.
And then, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
For me.
I mean, I think it is pretty rewatchable, but it just seems like everything that has to do with Helena is just, it feels like Taika is disinterested in telling that story.
Yeah, it's that funny flip where in the first two movies we're like, who cares about the Earth stuff? Just show us I forget where he lives, stuff. And then
Asgard.
I
was trying to remember.
But it was the flip side on that one where it's like, just show us the alien planet stuff. I don't care about the Asgard stuff.
Yeah. But this movie, the trailer, I was like, this feels a lot more Taika. Because I've seen all of his movies, and he tends to tell very goofy stories that are very personal.
Yeah.
And seeing just those multiple shots of, like Thor walking away from a battle he should have participated in, I was like, this feels more like Taika.
Yeah.
And that excited me. I will say for the record, just in case we're right, I hope I'm wrong in this, but folks, Natalie, as exciting as it is to see Lady Thor and see her grab Mjolnir and have the hammer, she really has been checked out this entire series, and she didn't even shoot any scenes in Avengers Endgame. They used repurposed footage. So I will be really surprised if she gives a performance that's any good.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Natalie Portman. She is one of my favorite actresses, but she's not been good in this series.
No.
Part of that is the writing, but I think the performance is like that too.
Tired.
But so that trailer happens, and then I think it started doing what's usually like these little trailer things for the theater before the movie starts.
Every theater has it. Yeah. We think that the movie's going to start.
And I'm like, oh man, because I had heard that we were going to get a specific trailer.
Yeah.
And then it goes and it shows the preview's been approved for all audiences. And I go, oh, please, please, please. And then we see this blue planet and blue people. And then all of a sudden, it is the footage of Avatar 2.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, I am beside myself with excitement for the movie. And I think I've detailed my journey on Avatar in this podcast before, so I'm not going to do it again right here. But it's been, 13 or 14 years, and I'm sure most people are seeing that trailer and they're like, wait, they are making a second one? Little do they know they're making a second and third and fourth and fifth.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think, people have bet against Cameron before with Titanic, with Avatar, and I think maybe even another movie.
Abyss?
Abyss didn't do so well.
Oh.
But I think Titanic was like, hey, this movie is going to bomb.
Yeah.
Becomes the biggest movie ever.
Yeah.
Avatar, people are like, why is he spending so much time on this weird special effects movie? It's going to bomb. Biggest movie ever. And like I've heard people say before, if James Cameron tells me I need 5 Avatar movies, I guess I need 5 Avatar movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot wait, and that is up there on excitement.
He seems to be in a good realm. He seems to have always been in a good realm with advancing technology for movies, but he's almost like he always has the focus of it needs to be visually pleasing, though.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be the best animation anyone has ever seen. Like whatever we're about to see. But then I just think of like stuff like that Ong Lee has done with frame rate stuff in his movies. And then Zemeckis does some weird effects stuff throughout his career.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And like a lot of their movies are not successful. and part of it is because those. As I have a hard time trying to say it. They're advancing technology, but their movies aren't successful. But it's like, but they did it, and that's cool because now we have this thing and we can perfect it. It's like, does that make sense?
Well, yeah. To me, it's like Zemeckis and who's the other person you said?
Ong Lee.
Ong Lee have used a lot of stuff, and it's like they have the cachet. They're big enough directors where they're allowed to trip.
Yeah.
So that then other people can be like, hey, Zemeckis did all this motion capture stuff. We can use it better.
Yeah.
And then they can run. But James Cameron is like, no, I am going to run, and then you will be able to crawl after me.
Yes. Yeah.
Because when I look at footage or like when I rewatched Avatar a year or two ago, I was like, oh, this movie's animation looks as good as current day animated movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like CGI in movies. Like, it looks better than animation-wise most every Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we saw the trailer for this, I was like, I can't believe how much better this looks than Avatar.
I can't believe that that's not people wearing makeup, because that's what it looks like.
It's crazy.
But it also doesn't look like that. It just looks like a
Right.
real being.
It's really wild. And the water animation is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
There was that shot where it seems like there's almost like an Atlantean type water people, and one of them was swimming and their hair was just floating everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I could not believe it.
It looks good.
So
I can't believe I'm saying that.
I know you have kind of been like, Micah, this is your thing, and then right after the trailer, you were like, okay, I want to see that.
Well, my thing with it is I did not see it in theaters originally, and that's, if you talk to anybody, they're like, yeah, I've seen it 4 times in theaters. You have to see it in theaters, and I just missed it, and then I watched it on a regular TV, and I didn't see what all the excitement was about.
Yeah,
wasn't bad. It wasn't Titanic level like his last giant thing, and just throughout the years it's just like I don't care. I miss the hype, just don't care. And then you wanted to revisit Avatar, and I was just like, you know what, I'm sure there's something there, but I'm gonna let you take that 2.5 hour or more journey, because I just don't want to right now. And then you watched it and you were like, okay, I was wrong about it. And you're wrong about it, Jordan. It's so good. And it's like, you know what? I believe you, and I'll just watch it again when the next movie is coming out.
Well, and
in theaters too, because it's coming in theaters. So
yeah, if anyone is curious, I don't know if it's supposed to be everywhere, but apparently Avatar 1 is returning to theaters in September. So look forward to that if you want to rewatch it or if you missed it or whatever.
Were you asking when we were in the theater? Were you asking if they showed the title because you wanted to know if they used the same font?
No, I couldn't remember what the title of this movie is, and I know they had announced it.
Yeah.
So I think it's like Seed of Life or something like that.
I don't remember.
But I was pretty. I mean, I'm ready. And I'm already formulating my boxing gloves of why this is a great movie.
I don't think you'll need to.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But the Avatar, when it came out, everyone's like, this is the best. I didn't see it in theaters either. And then everyone, once it hit DVD, it was like everyone agreed, like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
And
well, the fad is over.
Yeah. And but then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh no,
it's kind of funny.
This rules.
I feel
it
like
just rocks.
Everyone goes through something like that. I feel like it's where it's just like you think this thing is the best thing ever of your whole life. Nothing can top it. And then throughout the years, the time separates you from that thing.
Yeah.
And you just, whenever you look back on it, it's like, maybe it wasn't as great as I thought it was. And you allow time to kind of convince you of that. And then you just don't bother to revisit it again. And it's like, you know what? I think I was just naive and my tastes have evolved and gotten better and all this stuff.
Right.
And it's like, sometimes things just stay great though.
Yeah. And just because it's a story that has been used before does not, it's like an adaptation. Yeah,
that was my big thing originally when I was in high school and it came out, where I was like, it's just Pocahontas, what a ripoff. Yeah. And then since then it's like, no, that's now I would like the movie because of that.
Right. It's like, oh, cool.
I
this
love
is like
it when those things happen. Yeah. But I've thought about that with Inception. Ever since it came out, potentially #1 theater experience of my life.
Yeah.
And walked out of the movie and I said that was the best movie I've ever seen. And I've seen that movie so many times. It's the first movie that I really wanted to figure it out because it was a very complicated movie.
Yeah.
And then since having seen it, I am now in a mode where I'm like, I just don't want to figure out a movie right now.
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying, I think we've been really into more blockbuster heavy stuff, not Fast and Furious in a way, but where it's just don't bog this down in how this world works. Just present it to me.
Oh,
and in a way, it's but I don't think that.
You mean when we're talking about blockbusters, right? You want? I don't think I agree with you on that. But keep going.
Well, what I'm just saying is this is how I'm feeling about where I'm at.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything is right or wrong.
Okay.
I'm just saying that I've gotten to a point where it's I don't want to figure out a movie. I feel like there was a movie or two that we watched where I was I don't know, I didn't really like it and get it.
Yeah.
Which is not fair.
Yeah.
But of course, and so I think part of me is kind of maybe Inception is just too complicated, and that's just kind of dumb. You shouldn't have to really think that hard when you're watching a movie. And then I watch it and I'm no, that's the coolest part about the movie.
Yeah.
Is you get to figure this whole puzzle out.
Yeah.
And he did it.
Yeah.
Oh, Tenet was how I felt about it. That movie.
Oh, okay.
Where I was
that makes more sense.
Just make a movie is how I felt about that one.
Because I just knowing you and watching movies with you all the time, I don't think that you want your movie to tell you to turn off your brain. And it sounded like that's what you were saying.
And I think that's what I sometimes feel.
Yeah.
It's almost like a laziness to it. But I don't think that's what I actually want, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Although Tenet was too far.
And that's okay. You don't have to like that masterpiece. That's okay. There are some movies that just don't. Sometimes it's okay to say, hey, this movie isn't for me, but I understand that it's good. Although, I mean, you can argue it's not good if you would like, but I'm just saying.
No, I think it's a good movie.
In general.
It's interesting.
Sometimes.
I mean, Micah, it has Robert Pattinson in it. It's a pretty good movie.
It's got John David Washington, or David. I always get his names mixed up. David Henry John David Washington? John Henry Washington?
Okay, I'll just look it up for you.
He has two first names, so I'm always confused at what it is. David, John. I'm trying to stall here.
John David Washington.
John David Washington. Come on. Couldn't it be John D. Washington or something? Just an initial?
Too easy.
All right, so let's talk about Doctor Strange, though.
Yeah.
And we'll keep it spoiler-free until you hear our signature spoiler song.
But I would like to state a sweeping statement fact. I was talking about opinions before. This one's just a fact.
What's that? What are you doing?
The movie is called Doctor Strange. What is it called? Doctor Strange.
In the Multiverse of Madness.
In the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
yeah.
That's a fact. You have the audacity to title your movie that?
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. Sometimes that can be Pride Before the Fall, but not this time.
No. Yeah, I definitely this movie has certain things in it where I'm even if the movie was Eternals level bad, I would still kind of like it. Because there's certain visual things that I see where I'm I don't really care if the movie's bad if I get a look at this.
You know what? Something I thought of yesterday was, so since Endgame, we've had Eternals, Spider-Man, this movie, and I know we've had a ton of shows.
And Shang-Chi and
Shang-Chi.
Black Widow.
And Black Widow. Okay, Black Widow is pretty mediocre at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw that one off the list. But if
it's
Eternals,
an epilogue to Phase 3. It's not really the start of Phase 4.
If Eternals was as bad as it was, and it was as bad as it was, if it exists only to be so bad, and the selfless act of being so bad, just so that all the other ones can be so good,
Jordan's riled up.
I'm thankful for Eternals.
I never thought I would hear that sentence come out of your mouth.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I realize since some people might be tuning in to not get the plot so they can kind of get their appetite excited for this movie, maybe we should just talk about some bigger context of what we thought of this movie before we get into how it was made.
Yeah.
What did you think of this movie?
I thought this movie rocked my socks off.
Yeah?
It was really good. But I obviously don't want to say too much.
Well, yeah. I thought that this movie rocked my socks off.
Yeah. It knew what it was, and it was crazy. And They just let Sam Raimi make a movie. So
Yeah.
it was scary and spooky.
What is extremely exciting about this movie is Sam Raimi gets hired to direct this movie, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more later down the episode. But he hasn't directed a movie since 2013 with Oz the Great and Powerful, a movie that did not do well.
Is that why he hasn't directed a movie since 2013?
I don't know exactly.
Okay.
But and he got asked to direct this movie after Scott Derrickson left, and he was like hesitant to do it because he had a pretty bad experience with Spider-Man 3, and like even though that movie is not nearly as bad as people say it is, audiences were disappointed. And so he's like, I don't know. And then he decides to do it. And then he basically makes Evil Dead 2 in the Marvel Universe.
Uh-huh.
And it was awesome.
Uh-huh.
And here's another huge statement I'm going to say, and I felt it last night, and I'm going to stick by it. Of the MCU proper, so from Iron Man to this movie, I think that this movie is the most visually exciting of all 28 of those movies. And it's not really even close, I would say. I couldn't think of a second place compared to this.
Yeah.
It is so, like, the camera movements are exciting. The colors are exciting. It felt like an actual comic book.
Yes.
And it was just like, I can't believe they actually did let Raimi make a Raimi movie.
Yeah.
Because I think there was this fear before the movie came out that's like, are they going to neuter Sam Raimi and not let him make...
Wow. Do they require that of directors?
It seems like a few of them they have. And so it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But the movie was through and through 100% a Sam Raimi movie.
I don't know. So I like halfway agree with you. I think it's like up there on one of the best looking movies. I just think the Guardians movies look so good too.
I think the Guardians movies look great. Those would be number 2.
Yeah. So I think they're all just the same, like at the same. Oh, they're all number 1 to me.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I just feel like part of it has to be because, I mean, all these movies are just riddled with special effects, but like these have the most special effects. Though, because it's like outer space stuff, and this is like magic. And I think that's why it gets to look the best. Because there's an emphasis on making sure it does look the best.
Well, and I think, and this excites me, I think and hope that Marvel is, if they stick to this movie and it's got great projections for this weekend, I think it's going to be huge, huge, huge. That they can maybe stop trying to, even though they don't do it as much as DC has, like there doesn't need to be an emphasis on realism as much. So it was great that this movie did not ever try to be like, actually, it's not realistic that you would go through a multiverse and change this many times, even though it does fit the realism of this universe we've been watching. But even visually, I also felt like their costumes even popped more, because we just rewatched Doctor Strange 1, which I still think is an A-tier Marvel movie. I think it's underrated. That movie rules.
Yeah, it does.
But like his costume is brighter in this movie.
Yeah.
And his cape had more texture and stuff. And it was more fun to look at.
Yeah.
No shade to Scott Derrickson. You're welcome on the pod anytime, and I love your work, and I can't wait to see The Black Phone.
Ooh.
I'm scared to see it.
I know.
But I'm excited
Currently
to see it.
listening to it.
Whoa.
And it's scary.
But this movie was crazy, and the special effects looked fantastic, and they were actually, there was no like faceless blob Suicide Squad 2016 kind of stuff.
There is one thing that just looked off to me, but yes.
Okay.
Which was but maybe bleep that. Actually, yeah, bleep that.
Okay, let me make a mark.
I'll get into it more after the spoilers, but yeah, there was just one thing that looked off to me.
Okay, that was good thing we don't do this live, because that could have been a bummer for some people.
Yeah.
But we will discuss it after our spoiler-free section. But yeah, and I just liked how balls to the walls this movie was. I do think there's some issues with it, but it's nothing I really care about when there are zombies in the movie too.
Oh, Micah, you put a zombie, Doctor Strange, who's controlling lost souls. That's
and it turns into a
automatically
cape,
bumping way up on the Marvel list for me.
Yeah, I was talking to Trevin today, and we were talking about the movie, and I said, despite any like, I'm saying what I'm saying now. Like if a movie has issues in it, and I used Mank as an example. If in Mank, Gary Oldman at one point was like, I need to don the cape of undead souls and wear this cape of undead souls, I would love that movie.
I would finish that movie.
A movie that I really hate, I would be like, this is probably my favorite Fincher movie if there was a cape of undead souls. So arbitrary movie rule number 580.
Put a cape of undead souls on somebody.
Put a cape on it.
See how the movie flourishes.
But yeah, this movie's just totally unhinged and crazy.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into that too much.
Okay, so let's talk about how it was made, then we'll take our spoiler break, then we'll dive in.
What about the actors, dude?
And that's included in how it was made. So of course I told you Raimi made it. And it's written by Michael Waldron. Waldron, probably, not Waldron.
Well, it sounds more superhero-y.
Yeah.
Or super villainy, actually.
And he did, he wrote the 6 episodes of Loki.
Cool.
And he also wrote a very funny episode of Rick and Morty, the one with the lighthouse, where he's like...
The lighthouse?
Where Morty goes to this lighthouse and a guy keeps trying to tell his story.
Uh-huh.
And they keep telling him, like, shut up, we don't want to hear your stupid story.
Uh-huh.
And I remember that was before I bailed on that show. And I remember that episode being, like, a particular highlight.
Was it in that season that we stopped watching?
No, this was season 2.
Oh, okay.
Back when it was...
I kind of remember the episode.
Back when it was still good.
Let's not get into it.
Then John Mathiasson, he did the cinematography on Hannibal. So we have talked about him.
That's very strange. Wait, Hannibal, the show or the movie?
The movie.
Either way, very strange because that movie looked so bad.
But that movie was distinct.
It was. But remember how blue that movie was?
Yeah. But that's a Ridley Scott director's early 2000s choice, you know?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about him.
And then he also did the cinematography on Logan. So another very distinct looking movie.
That movie looks good.
And then we have his triumphant return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe since Avengers Age of Ultron. Danny Elfman is on the score of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and boy, is he ever.
Skip ahead 15 seconds if you don't want a very mild spoiler that doesn't spoil anything, really. There is a musical notation fight in this movie where they throw musical notes at each other, and you just know that Danny Elfman, I can just see that madman just being like, let's do this, here we go. And in addition to that, he uses a squealing guitar several times throughout.
So many times, and it is perfect.
I love it. There's a little oingo boingo in the score to this movie, and it's great.
And we needed it.
Yeah. So the movie came out May 5th, and I saw one place that the budget was $200 million. I wasn't able to confirm that. But now let's go back to 2016. Doctor Strange comes out, and C. Robert Cargill, one of the writers on Doctor Strange, he said that before Doctor Strange even came out, him and Scott Derrickson had all these crazy ideas for what to do in the first movie.
Yeah.
And Marvel was like, that's too weird.
Oh.
But let's save those ideas for a sequel.
Was it this kind of stuff?
I would imagine so.
Okay.
And then they start working on this movie, and it gets in pre-production in 2019. And then in January of 2020, Scott Derrickson leaves over creative differences.
Okay.
And the writer was supposed to be with him on the movie.
As director?
C. Robert Cargill.
As co-directing?
No, he was supposed to write this movie.
Got it.
And he didn't write it because remember, Michael Waldron wrote it. And so he has this quote about it.
The other writer.
Yeah.
The writer who didn't write the movie.
Yes. Doctor Strange 1 writer said this. It came down to Scott, and Scott's like, well, I can make this movie, and I'm compromising what I wanted to do on, or I could make The Black Phone.
Thanks, Scott, for making a really potentially good decision, because The Black Phone looks nuts.
Well, he was going to have another director make The Black Phone. So basically,
What does that mean?
Like, he was going to produce it.
Oh, okay.
So he's like...
No, what does that mean?
So Scott's like, I can make Doctor Strange and power through this, but they're not letting me do exactly what I would like to do.
Right.
Or I can just make the black phone.
Yeah.
So he does that, and the quote goes on, I want to make a movie with Cargill. And he said publicly it was a hard choice to leave Strange behind, but it made it easier that he had a movie that he was looking forward to. And then the experience was just so great that we're just so proud and happy with what we made. And that's referring to the black phone.
That's cool to know that the black phone was going to get made no matter what. Because I did kind of feel like he got off this movie and was just kind of like, well, what can we do? I guess I'm a horror director, so let's just try and figure out a horror thing.
Yeah.
But like he already had a vision for something he was passionate about making.
Right. And you could see how, if you make a huge Marvel movie, because as much as like 2016 to 2019 is a lot of time, it's also like not that much time.
Yeah.
And like directing years.
Yeah.
So you can see how he's like probably thinking about Doctor Strange stuff that whole time and working on some producing on other projects.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I really like Black Phone, but I got to work on this. And then that's what happened though. And then on Twitter, someone asked him like a couple days ago, like if he had any say in who they chose as the new director.
Okay.
And he's active, and he'll like answer people's questions and stuff. He's a fun follow. And he says, it was Marvel's choice, but as soon as I heard the news, I called Sam to congratulate him. I told him I thought he was perfect for the job and gave him my full blessing going forward. It was a really nice call.
Nice.
So all happy and quiet on the Western Front. And then I wanted to let you know that the character America Chavez first premiered in September of 2011 as a character ever.
Nice.
So she is...
Do you know what she appeared in?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so she is... I think it was like Young Avengers or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But she's just a fairly new character. And when I was watching the movie, I read a ton of comics, and I was like, I don't know anything about this character. I don't know her powers. I don't know her story.
Maybe that's part of why they chose... Well, I'm sure they chose whatever they think would work best for the story at the end of the day, but I always wonder if it's like, a fun bonus is a lot of people probably won't be familiar with this character.
Yeah, but it was cool. I mean, you ask me even 10 years ago if they would get to the level where they're doing characters like America Chavez, or even though it's very... Oh, that's kind of a spoiler. Not really.
I think so.
Okay.
Bleep it.
Okay, you know what? Why don't we go to actors?
Okay. So, I guess I can't cover a couple actors then. Maybe I should do actors after. Well, I'll just do part of the actors. So, Xochitl Gomez plays America Chavez. She is also in The Babysitter's Club, Shadow Wolves, Roped Lone Drone, and Raven's Home. She is 16 as of right now.
This is America Chavez.
Yeah. Do you think that she is the youngest Marvel star?
She's only 16?
Because I'm not including like Wanda's kids.
Yeah.
Because they're not superheroes or something.
Wait. She's 16 now?
Yeah.
So that means they would have shot it when she was like 15.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got to be down there. Because I think even Tom Holland, I think he was like 17.
I think he was like 18.
17 or 18, yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as like
I don't know how old Zendaya
superhero,
was.
that's probably the
Zendaya's
the youngest.
like our age.
Yeah.
So she's a couple years younger than us. But yeah. Crazy. That's crazy. Good
that
for
is
her.
crazy, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing actors. Sheila Atim plays Sarah. She is the girl that like sacrifices herself for Wong, like in place of Wong.
Okay.
I just thought she was pretty badass. She's also in Bruised, The Underground Railroad, and a couple other things. Okay, and then Jet Klein plays one of the sons of Wanda. So he is also in WandaVision, which most people know because a lot of people have watched that show.
Uh-huh.
He's also in Z and Skyscraper.
Okay. The kids they're
movie.
kind of bad, right?
I thought they were fine. I think they were great.
They're kind of like charmingly bad.
Yeah, they're like annoying, but they're also at that age where kids are kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Jillian Hilliard is the other son, WandaVision as well as Haunting of Hill House, the show, and The Conjuring. The devil made me do it.
Cry macho.
And then I'll save others.
Okay, so
later.
let's head straight into our spoiler section
Yeah.
so that we can start talking about some of the nitty gritty.
Spoiler alert! 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 Spoiler alert!
Anson Mount plays Black Bolt.
Black
He is
Bolt.
also in he stars in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. He's the captain,
Whoa.
Captain Pike.
Okay.
And that's a prequel.
Okay.
He also voices Batman in Injustice, that animated movie that came
Okay.
out last year. And then he's in Nonstop, Supremacy, Red Widow, Straw Dogs, and a million other things.
And does he not play Black Bolt?
I didn't look very deep in it, but when I looked him up last night, that's what I found.
Okay, I'm going to look that up while you do that.
And then I'm just realizing this, and I didn't take notes, which is kind of dumb. But we have not covered Sir Patrick Stewart.
No, I
Who
don't.
plays?
Who does he play? Professor X.
Thank you.
Charles Xavier, of course.
He is an X-Men, guys.
Yeah.
He's also in. Wait, what? He's in a movie called Coda. That's not the same thing. That's funny. He's in Coda, not the recent Best Picture winner. A different
okay.
one. He's in Charlie's Angels, The Kid Who Would Be King. I mean, it's Sir Patrick Stewart. He is Picard, right? He is Picard.
He's Picard, yeah.
You know him, you love him.
Yeah, so Black Bolt, that actor did play him in the Inhumans ABC show that got canceled pretty quick.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then John Krasinski
John Krasinski was
as
in this.
Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic. Reed Richards himself.
Pretty nutso. Guys, it's John Krasinski. It's Jim Halpert.
Yeah.
It's also director and star of A Quiet Place.
Of those quiet places.
And the second Quiet Places, too. So, yeah, that's about it on the actors.
Okay. So what did you think looked so weird about John Krasinski?
I just feel like there's a little bit of a floating head situation on him.
Oh, wow. I did not notice it at all.
Not when he showed up and not when he was in that chamber, but when he was standing off to Wanda. He looked weird to me.
Oh, okay. Totally didn't notice that.
That's great.
Yeah, so maybe, I mean, hey, we can go a little out of order. Let's talk about the Illuminati.
Yeah.
So
I gotta say first,
yeah.
did you look up the Illuminati thing? Because I didn't.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It is in the comics, though.
You didn't tell me that last night.
Yeah, well, I literally just in the thing that I saw before it said, like, what is the Illuminati, as I'm trying to find the Black Bolt information, and I saw a comic book panel of people around, like, a table.
What
So,
I'm curious
it's real.
about is how long that's been around.
Oh, okay.
Because when the movie says we are the Illuminati, it's like, as someone who doesn't read comics, first
Yeah.
of all, I do assume that that's in the comics. Why would they make up something at this point? But
Right.
I also just felt like it's always kind of weird and kind of pulls me out of the moment a little bit when in any movie they reference something like let's say specifically like fantasy stuff, they reference something that is a reality to me.
Yeah.
But it's not the same thing. It has a different meaning.
Okay, yeah.
And
yeah.
it's just a little like, wait, really? The Illuminati? Whether or not it's a conspiracy,
Right.
But that was a little funny to me. But at the end of the day, it's not, because it's canon.
So the word Illuminati immediately conjures the specter of conspiracy theories and Assassin's Creed games, but Marvel's Illuminati aren't just a secret cabal of world leaders. They're a secret cabal of world leaders who are also superheroes. Created by Brian Bendis and Alex Maleev. They initially formed as a sort of United Nations of superhero factions, a collaborative body between the Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Inhumans, Wakanda, Atlantis, and Earth's magical community.
Oh, so what brings them all together? There's an Atlantis in Marvel?
Jordan,
What?
you don't know about Atlantis?
No.
Well, you will, because in Black Panther, Namor is supposed to be in it, who is the Submariner, king of Atlantis.
Those words mean nothing to me, but that's awesome.
He's cool. Namor freaking rules. I hope that they do him well, because he's also, like, when you look at pictures of him in the comics, it's like, he looks cool. And then if you try to imagine that being a real life person, it's like, that will look stupid.
Wait. His name? What's his name?
Namor. Namor. the Submariner. Premiered in Fantastic Four, and he rules.
Cool.
You taking a look at him right now?
Yep.
I think he's so cool.
He looks like Sandman, but underwater, and way more buff. See, look at this.
You must be looking at newer. Oh, yeah. That you should look up. Look here. Let me see here.
Wait, hold on.
Look up 60s Namor. Yeah, that's Namor right there. That's more Namor.
We're in a Speedo. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, well, actually, it doesn't make sense to talk about the Illuminati, does it? We kind of have to get there.
Sure.
So the movie begins with this. We're already in like this crazy world.
It starts loud.
It's a very loud movie, which I kind of enjoyed. I mean, I think my theory is that they just turn it up louder on like the opening weekends. But there's like floating stuff in space. There's a book. There's Doctor Strange, but he looks
but a version
different.
of him we don't know.
Yeah.
He's got a ponytail, and he's speaking Spanish.
Yeah. Which I thought it would have been cool if he spoke Spanish in this whole scene.
Me too.
So then it would have been like, oh, this version of Doctor Strange only speaks Spanish.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why they didn't do that, but and so then we get introduced to America Chavez right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a tentacle monster that is attacking them.
It's not like a tentacle monster though.
Okay.
No, it looks like ribbons almost.
Right, okay.
It's not, it doesn't look like it doesn't look like a real living, breathing thing. It just looks like I can't talk.
Like a organism.
But it doesn't look like an organism.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so it's attacking them and they're trying to get to this book. That's like, literally, it looks like it's heavenly. Like there's stuff illuminating from it.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, already I'm like, okay, baby, let's go. This is nice. And they're fighting for a while, and then Doctor Strange turns to Chavez, and he goes, I got to take your power. I'm sorry. If I don't do it, we're going to lose our power, and we'll die. Your sacrifice is like infinitely more, is infinitely better than if you'd live.
Yeah.
And he starts sucking out her power, and she's screaming. And then he gets stabbed by the monster, and she gets away, and she like fourth dimension goes away.
What did you think about the star thing?
Star thing is awesome.
Yeah.
Love the star thing.
It's such a choice too.
Well, and that is, I mean, I'm sure that's how, I've never read a comic with her, but I'm sure that's how it is. And it was cool that's what I mean about the realism thing, where they're like, no, she teleports with a star, we're going to use a star.
It's so cool.
Instead of being like, no, it has to be a circle or something.
Yeah.
And it differentiates it because we see people portal all the time in this series.
Yeah.
So I thought the star freaking ruled, and I loved it. I also am like, I'm ready to see more of this character. I like this character already a lot. And then we get to see our boy, Mr. Stephen Strange. And he wakes up with this great, like, twisty Sam Raimi shot where I'm like, okay, this is already kind of out there. Okay.
And it's as if he woke up from a dream.
Yes. Now, this theory I love. There's a theory that they say throughout the movie. Well, actually, they confirm it, that whenever someone dreams, they are dreaming of another universe that their version of them lives in. Mm-hmm. Which is one of the cooler things I've ever heard in my life.
Which kind of reminds me, friend of the podcast, Taylor Brown.
Yes.
Because you've attributed this to her.
Oh, the deja vu thing?
Yeah. Where you told me that she has said this, that deja vu could be the reason why we experience it is because another version of ourselves was in the same moment.
Yeah. I think she said it was like, it's like a version of you has like synced into you or something like that. Which I've always thought was kind of fun.
That is so cool.
I mean, I don't believe in a multiverse, but if I did, I would believe that.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
But he is getting ready. He looks nice.
Yeah, he looks great.
And he's going to a wedding.
Yes. I like this little Did you think he was going to a wedding at the beginning?
I always assume it's like a funeral or something. Because sometimes it's like, who died in the last couple movies or something, you know?
Okay, because if you thought that, then I'm like, I think that's intentional.
Yeah.
Because he shows up and you don't see what's happening.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, whose funeral is he attending? That's what I thought.
Well, I knew right when they got to the church it wasn't a funeral because it was too loud. If it was a funeral, it'd be really quiet. But I do get what you're saying, and I do agree with you with it being intentional because it's all like he's going to his own funeral because Christina's getting married, his love that he lost.
Yeah.
So it's like the end for him. I liked so as they're waiting for the wedding to begin, Michael Stuhlbarg sits next to him. He's in the first Doctor Strange, also a surgeon.
And when he sat next to him, I was like, Joaquin Phoenix is in this movie?
It's kind of weird, but I get that.
And then I was like, oh, no.
Definitely not.
He's in, is it just this one scene? And he got an and.
He got a with.
Oh, he got a with. Rachel got the
Rachel
and?
McAdams got the and, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I guess Joaquin Phoenix is in the MCU now. And I was sort of like, cool. Okay, let's see what he does. And then, but I like this actor a lot too. I mean, he's always
it would not have made sense if Joaquin was in it. But,
oh no.
So are they talking about the blip?
They are.
Okay, because he said that he's like I lost my 2 cats because he blipped.
Yeah.
So he wasn't around for 5 years. His cats died. I think he
and
said, his brother died.
Yeah.
And I think the gist of what he's kind of asking him is like, are you happy? Like, do you feel good for what you did? Or no, he said like, are you sure there weren't any other possible outcomes? Because if you remember in Endgame, he goes through all versions.
Yeah.
And there's only one, and that's what we got.
And then he's like, no, there was no other way. And Michael Stuhlbarg's like, of course you would say that. The guy, you always have to hold the knife. You always are the surgeon. I mean, that's more what Rachel McAdams says, but it's
anyone who knew him in his past, that's how they feel about him.
Yeah.
I loved that. That was a good table setting, just a mood setting. So then Christine gets married.
Yes.
And
she just gets married.
I loved it.
I assumed that that wasn't going to happen or something.
We always think
it would
that
be
because
undone or something.
In some ways, Marvel's getting experimental these days, but at the same time, it's kind of cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Good guy always wins kind of stuff. So you do think like, no, he'll end up with her. But when she gets married, it's like, no, he's definitely not ending up with her because they're not going to like make her divorce or kill her husband. Like
especially when they show him and he doesn't really have any lines of dialogue and he looks nice and he seems nice. So it's like, oh, they're not going to take this away from her.
No,
it had to be like he turns to Doctor Strange and he like does something magical and you're like, okay, that's a bad guy or something. But
no, she's just happy. And at the reception, they're talking and she does ask him if he's happy.
Yes. And I think
he's kind of confused by the question.
Yeah. I mean, he does what we all do when we're asked how we're doing. We say, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing good, whether you're doing terrible or not.
Yeah.
And then he inappropriately at her wedding is kind of like, we could have maybe made it work. And she's like, no, we couldn't. You always have to have control.
Well, I liked exactly what she said was, you always have to hold the knife, Steven. And that's something I can respect you for, but not love you for.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
And right away, I'm just like, I'm so glad, because she hasn't been in any movies since Doctor Strange. I'm like, I'm so glad they got Rachel McAdams again.
Yeah.
She's so good.
She is.
She's just a national treasure. I love her so much. And this sets up a great character thing that he's going to learn through this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of his other versions are like him, and they're willing to take America Chavez's power.
Mm-hmm.
And this version is going to learn to not hold the knife.
Well, and conceivably, no other versions of him end up with Christine, too.
Yeah.
Is what he learns. So, during the wedding, he is whisked away on superhero duties when a commotion is going on in the streets of New York City.
Yeah.
Love the whole, like, he gets the cape out and it, like, changes his outfit into his uniform.
Yeah. Costume.
That looks great. I love that people up at the wedding, up in this, like, several floors up, are just watching excitedly because we're now living in a world where this is just a daily thing, especially if you live in New York City.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so there's this giant can I say tentacle monster?
But we don't see it yet,
Oh, that's right.
which is fun.
We see America come out, and she's running around.
Cars are flying.
And yeah, there's like chaos happening, and then he casts a spell, and we see this huge monster with an eyeball that's ginormous. You've seen it in the trailers.
Yeah.
I
was happy. I was excited to see
Love this thing.
I was excited to see the creature, but I was happy that it was in the act 1. Because that makes me just feel like, oh, the trailer was good. You know?
Yeah.
They didn't give too much away.
But this fight is kind of long in a good way. And when I was watching it, I was like, I can't believe how much better Sam Raimi is than most of these directors, because I was actually engaged in the fighting.
Yeah.
Which is just not, it's not always a given with these movies.
Yeah.
Even some of these that I like, it's like, okay, but the fight is like the least exciting part of this movie.
Right. Yeah.
And this movie's like, no, the Gonzo stuff is the best part. Like the quiet moments are not the best part, which is not common for these movies.
True. Ironically.
Right.
But yeah, Wong shows up and starts fighting too.
Yeah.
And I think he does catch up with America at one point, but she just starts running again. So it's just like, who is this? What's going on? But also, how come I know, like, I've seen this person before? So she gets flung onto a building, and the tentacle monster's trying to get up to her. Wong and Doctor Strange are having a hard time trying to vanquish it. And did you notice that when she's up and it's like trying to smash her down, she like kicks down on the loose cement and a star breaks off?
Yeah.
That was a nice, just tiny bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah. Loved that.
And then Doctor Strange stabs it in the eye. Is it Doctor Strange or does Wong do
Doctor
it?
Strange uses like magical beast hands to pull up
that was so cool.
a light post, stab the creature in its eye, and pull it out, and it pulls the eye out of the socket.
It was
it's
grisly.
Like bloody and like tendrily and stuff. And right then and there, I was like, I love this movie. Like, and that's what I'm saying about this whole thing is like, there's so much exciting visuals happening and exciting things that we haven't seen in this universe that it's worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah.
So that's happening, and I'm like, okay. Like you're just, this is a Sam Raimi movie. They did not neuter him. He is going for it.
Stop saying that. That's
you don't want me to say
weird.
neuter?
I don't know. I don't like it.
What about spade him? Is that better?
So America runs away. They catch up
Yes.
to her, and they go get some pizza.
Yes.
And they're talking. And Steven says, "How come I know I've seen you before?" Or no, do they go up to the roof first, or do they get pizza first?
I don't know.
But they're talking, and he says, "How come I've seen you before?" She tells him,
The dream thing we discussed.
She is scared of him because she's been around a Doctor Strange before, and like we just saw, it tried taking her power, so she doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
And I like that we as the viewer understand why she wouldn't,
Right.
rather than just being aloof.
Yeah.
But I liked the pizza scene. I thought that was all funny and well written.
Yeah.
Where like they are in a public place, so someone comes up with their phone, asks if they can take a picture, and he's like, "Sorry, I mind," because they're in the middle of something.
Right.
And then Wong is like interested, like, "You went to Christine's wedding?"
Yeah.
And then he's interested in whatever's going on with this America girl.
And then he's like answering all of their questions in like a triple dialogue thing.
Yeah.
So they're finding out that like these creatures are coming to get her because she can go through multiverses.
But she can't control it.
Yes, she doesn't know how to control it.
But to remove her power from her would kill her.
Yes. And so Doctor Strange is like, okay, I have an idea. And there's something about runes somewhere, and they're like, okay, we need to talk to a witch.
Well, I will say that the first monster at the very beginning of the movie and then the tentacle monster had runes on them.
That's what it was.
So I think it's to show that they are serving someone higher than them.
Yeah.
But so they do, before talking to Wanda, they do go up to a roof, and this is where she showed up in this reality. And there's the body of the Doctor Strange from the beginning of the movie, and he's dead. And they bury him.
Yeah. Which totally at the end of the movie when that came back, I was like,
I love
okay.
this. I'm always a sucker for it. It's just like, I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
But
and you can almost imagine like when the guy's writing this movie, he's like, okay, so now he needs to possess wait a second, we had one at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's great.
I mean, that's romantically how I view him writing this script.
Yeah. What I also love in stuff like this too, when, he's telling her like, this is what we need to do. And she says, how do I know I can trust you? And he says, I don't know. You're just going to have to trust me.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's great.
Yeah.
That's when he brings up Wanda.
Yep.
So he's like, I'm going to go visit her and talk to her about this because we have a witch in our corner.
Yeah. Now, I would be curious if any of you watch this movie, because we're so inundated with all of these Marvel things and it's so intertwined. I did think at the beginning of this movie, I was kind of like, could someone just go see this movie?
Yeah.
I think they tried to design them so that you can, but it felt like if you hadn't seen WandaVision, you would be at a pretty big disadvantage to understanding the emotional complexities of the movie.
Yeah. And I think there would be a couple things that you would just have to accept that you don't know what they are. Because in this scene, when he's talking to her, she does talk about Vision. And if you've not seen any other movies,
Yeah.
That's not a name. Like, that's a name for a character. But let's say this is one of the first Marvel movies you've seen or whatever. You would just be like, what's a vision?
Right.
Like, so she had a vision?
Well, and she talks about Westview, which
Yeah.
is the town that she like controlled.
Yeah.
But what was cool, so in this scene, we basically find out, or I don't know if it's in this scene, but she's being deceptive. She's been using the Darkhold, which is this evil ancient book, which if we know anything about Sam Raimi, he's good with evil ancient books.
Yeah.
And she's the one who's sending these creatures to get her. Because what she is attempting to do is put herself in another dimension where she has those kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows she has the kids because she dreams about them every night.
I love the reveal of that. Because we cut to Wanda and she is with her sons. And she's tucking them into bed. It's all very cute, cookie cutter life in a way. I do think it is interesting that there is no Vision at all.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's almost as if like she's accepted that or in every other reality, he's just gone.
Yeah,
and her
or
kids
maybe
are her priority.
Like going back to what you just said, like those other Wandas are like more well adjusted.
Yeah,
so they like
accepted
accepted his death.
Yeah. But she, but then she wakes up, and those things are all dreams, like we said. I really like, because in the trailer, a big moment that was really interesting to me was when she's talking to Doctor Strange and is like, when you change things or mess with reality or whatever it is, like people congratulate you for it or thank you for it. When I do it, people are scared or it's wrong. People come after me.
That doesn't seem fair.
And in the trailer, it really felt like, he's coming to her for help still.
Uh-huh.
And she's warning him that it's just probably not going to go down well. That's how it felt in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I love in this that the reveal is like, it all means the same thing. But it just has a different note to it.
Yeah.
Of like, what is going on?
Yeah. And
sorry.
It was interesting that, and I kind of liked this, that this movie had nothing to do with Spider-Man. Because the trailers there was like a sentence or something that made it sound like Wanda was talking about, I think it was this conversation where I just filled in the blanks like, oh, she's talking about how he messed with the multiverse.
I think that's what I was thinking of too. Yeah.
But in this movie, you see that she's like, no, you had me kill my husband, Vision, and then you let half of the population die, and you're a hero. Mm-hmm. And I enslaved a town for a few months, and I'm a villain? Mm-hmm. Just so that I could be with these people that you made me kill? Mm-hmm. I don't see how that's right.
Yeah. And I just love, this is so interesting to me, that we have this whole show, WandaVision, where she has a hold on all these people to create this perfect life. And then it's all broken down because it's not possible. And it's not okay that she's doing this. And I just assume by the end of it, it's like, well, she learned her lesson. It's really sad that she's lost everything. Yeah. But she has. And she has to move on. Just a great thing about grief. Yeah. And then in this movie, it's like, oh, no, she's not over it. In fact, it's almost like pushed her further into figuring out how to make it real. Yeah. That's dark and sad. And I sympathize with our villain, which is great.
Yeah, and there's a post-credit scene in WandaVision where we see her at this location, and she's like walking around having fun, and then it goes to the bedroom, and there is like her astral self like studying the Darkhold.
Okay.
But I mean, I think people figured it out. I didn't know what she was doing. I was just like, oh, okay, she's studying. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this is where the story would go.
Yeah.
But I like where it goes, and I thought it was really nuts. Like, so in WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen is great.
Mhm.
She's really great in the show. But this is easily her best performance in all of the movies she's been in.
Yeah.
Like, no contest. And she freaking, like, she perfectly balances going totally ham and cheesy in the tone that the movie is setting, in like a Willem Dafoe Green Goblin Spider-Man way, where she's going nuts. And then she's also able to pull those emotional, dramatic moments perfectly. So I was genuinely like, man, I mean, she's probably the performance of the movie for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I mean, I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was great, but I think the excitement of this new character, America Chavez, is probably number 2 for me.
Okay.
And then number 3 is Bruce Campbell, of course. Papa Pizza.
Papa gets his pizza.
Oh, that was another thing. Before the movie started, I turned to Jordan and I said, I hope that Bruce Campbell's in this movie, because Sam Raimi usually has him cameo in his movies. And I'm like, that would be so awesome. And you were like, oh, I'm going to look it up. And you looked it up. And I was like, no, don't tell me. And you're like, no, I'm not going to tell you. And then we're talking about Bruce Campbell, and you said, well, maybe he was filming this movie when that happened. And
whoops.
Then I didn't even register it, but then you said, oh, whoops. And I was like, oh, okay, so he's in this movie. But it's fine. It's fine. It's not like a real spoiler.
So you rewatched the last episode of WandaVision.
I did.
Did it make more sense to you in any way?
Yeah, the last episode of WandaVision is pretty good, actually.
Wow, that's awesome.
I think I was so taken aback when we watched it that they didn't explain why the white vision was there.
Yeah.
And it was in a post-credit scene that I didn't know I had to watch.
Of maybe 2 or 3 post-credit scenes in the whole show?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that whole thing was pretty confusing. But once I knew that was happening, I was able to get on board and like actually pay attention. Because when we first watched it, the whole time I'm just like, when are they going to explain this? When are they going to explain this? But
yeah,
that was such a weird choice to leave like an important plot point in the post-credit scenes.
I feel like they've kind of learned their lesson. I don't.
Yeah.
I've never. You're the only other person I've talked to about it, so I don't know if people are crying about it. But
I just think with the shows, don't do a post-credit scene.
No.
I mean, the post-credit scenes are basically useless anyway. Because they typically set stuff up that doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the post-credit scene of Doctor Strange shows Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he goes and he takes away the power from the guy who got his legs back in Doctor Strange 1.
What are you talking about? This happened in this movie?
In the post-credit scenes of Doctor Strange.
I thought you meant this movie.
Okay, 2016 Doctor Strange, he takes away, you know what I'm talking about now, right? And then he's like, I'm gonna get rid of all of the witchcraft in the world because he's been, burned by the Ancient One. And then in this, he like that version of him isn't even in Doctor Strange, the sequel.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, just kind of another pointless post-credit scene, but they're always fun to watch. Mm-hmm. But they're usually like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think about like the Venom post-credit scene in Spider-Man. And it's like, that's never going to come back.
Yeah.
They're never going to do anything with that. So Wanda gives him this ultimatum, really. And she says, I'm going to take America, whether you like it or not, have her ready at this time, this place. Mm-hmm. At Carmitage, I think she says. Mm-hmm. And Doctor Strange is like, no, we're not going to do that.
After what you just revealed to me.
Yeah.
Like she took off her, like we said, her hex. And she's not in an apple orchard. She's in a barren wasteland.
Yeah. And
cool.
Very cool. Very cool. And then we have this battle scene at Carmitage where there is a bison creature.
Well, that was going to say, that's another ding I have against this movie. How can you just throw in this moss-colored bull thing or water buffalo thing and not address it?
No, okay, I'm going to fight against you here.
Okay.
I think that freaking rules, because if we start having Marvel movies where there are characters that look this insane and they don't even explain them, how many more can they populate in the world?
No, I know. I think it's cool, but it is just like, who is this? Why are they here? I love them. What's their name?
Yeah. It was cool though. And yeah, he was moss colored, which was an interesting choice too. I mean, I'm sure it's a character in the comic books. But so Wanda shows up. And this is when, because they kept the plot pretty under wraps, as they usually do with these, where it's like, I don't really know what this movie's about going into it. And then she just starts going ham.
But what's crazy is it's not just people at Carmitage.
Yeah.
It's the Hong Kong sector and the London sector show up too.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's banding together.
And then Wanda starts getting into their minds, which is cool because she did that in the first movie she was in, Ultron. She would like get into people's minds. Yeah. And so that was kind of like, okay, we're bringing her full circle kind of.
Yeah.
And then
I liked how they did it too.
Yeah, she just is like, run.
But just like how she appears, it's cool. It was shot very well.
Yeah, she's getting in their heads. Then the shield comes down. And this part I was a little like, it's not quite as exciting visually, but it's like, okay, this is more like kind of, this looks more Marvel-y to me than the rest of the movie.
I don't need it to be insane though.
No, not necessarily.
Personally.
And I'm just kind of pointing out like, okay, like this sequence wasn't nearly as exciting to me.
Yeah.
But then is this when they go through the portal?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So she knocked down their defenses. Everyone's trying to take her down. It's not working. People are dying.
Yeah.
And they're holding America in like a safe place within Carmitage. And they're
and she starts coming up through the reflections,
she's
right?
like, she comes up. Oh no, okay. So Doctor Strange puts her into the mirror dimension.
Yes,
thing.
that was really cool.
Very cool. But she figures out how to get past it. She's using the reflections. And she pulls a couple dudes through reflections, which is like, that's scary. Where did they go?
Like puddles of water.
So they're covering up all these puddles of water.
Yeah, I love that.
It looks so cool. And then I thought Wong was just straight up dead because she like flings him aside and his like neck lands on a step. And it was just like, it was such a thud that I was like, ooh, I think he's dead. And then later on, I thought he was dead like 3 times in this movie because like he's a great and essential character, but I would understand if they killed him off.
Oh, he would be like one of the more shocking characters to me if they killed him.
That makes sense. But it's also like, he is big enough that they would give him a big...
Yeah,
like,
they wouldn't just throw him
death.
away.
Yeah. So
he's kind of like think about Dwight Schrute where it's like...
The person you most mediums.
Yeah, like he would almost be more shocking than like Doctor Strange dying because he's the person you would most medium expect.
Yeah, he's the foundation to the Doctor Strange stuff. But yeah, so she starts taking over America's powers because she also knocks Doctor Strange out.
Right.
He comes too. She like gets the only time she knows when her power works is when she gets scared.
Yeah.
So the portal's open. She's freaking out. Doctor Strange like pulls her through with him.
And then they go through a lot of dimensions.
This is it's a multiverse montage.
Yeah, and this was like one of the coolest shots. This is where in the trailer it shows where his like face like splits apart as he's yelling. They went through a cartoon world.
I feel like they went through more than one.
Oh, I think I only caught one.
I feel like there was another animated one.
Well, there was one where they were paint.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were just all these other ones. And that was really cool.
That's the kind of stuff I could watch all day.
I know when the shot, I was like, I feel like the shot was definitely long enough, but if it was twice as long, I would not have complained at all.
No.
But it did feel like, oh, this is longer than I expected this shot to go, but it could still be twice as long.
Yeah.
Because I'm always going to be excited to see what is a multi-dimensional thing.
Yeah.
Which, hey, shout out and plug because we'll never cover it on this podcast. Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you want another multiverse movie, that movie is even better than this movie.
And I hope that anyone's listening to this is already like, I've seen it 3 times already.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because it's that cool.
Yeah, that is the best movie of the year so far, and I will be shocked if I like another movie better than that movie.
Wow.
I will be genuinely shocked. I don't think anything stands a chance. That's just like everything I like about movies.
It's everything and everywhere.
All at
all
once.
at once. But so they end up at, they crash land at another reality in the same spot where she did on the roof of that building.
Yeah. I did see a very funny tweet today where someone said for a movie where they go to a bunch of multiverses, pretty weird or pretty uninteresting that the craziest thing that they see is that a red light means go.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, of course, whichever one they land on is going to be like something that me as the viewer can at least like understand what's happening, because it's if anything, it's just visually different in minute ways. Everyone wears hats though. Yeah, and I was kind of confused. No, wait, hold on. I was kind of confused when the Illuminati people were not wearing hats, and Rachel McAdams wasn't wearing a hat. So like everyone on the street was wearing a hat. And then later on, the people maybe they don't wear a hat in the building.
Wait, did they get captured on this one, or do they go into another one?
No, this is the same one.
Oh.
So that one I'm a little confused on.
Okay.
Other than like, of course, they don't want to put people in hats. That doesn't look good. But because when they got there, everyone's staring at them. And I think they're all staring at them because, well, I guess one.
I love that you caught this. I did not catch this at all.
I'm sure actually now, though, they're all staring at him because they're like, he's dead. Why is he here? Mm-hmm. But what I was thinking was, how come they're not wearing hats?
I think that might have. I don't think that that's an intentional thing, but I kind of love it. I want to watch it again just to track the hats.
Bruce Campbell was wearing a hat.
Yeah, I think he was wearing a little like
hunting cap.
street vendor.
Street vendor cap. Yeah.
But yeah, so they're in this other universe. We have the Bruce Campbell cameo where
Papa gets his pizza.
Papa gets his pizza. Because America's like, you always just got to eat whatever universe you're in, especially if there's pizza. So she's eating these pizza balls.
Mm-hmm. And she said, in most other universes, food is free. It's weird that you guys have to pay for it.
Yeah, and then you hear Bruce Campbell, and he's like, hey, you didn't pay for that. And then
Sam puts on another layer of Sam Raimi. Because not only is it Bruce Campbell, who was just super campy. Yeah. That alone, it's like, okay, Sam Raimi. But then he puts on another layer of Doctor Strange puts like a little curse on him, and he's hitting himself like a cartoon character. Yeah. And it's like, why does this feel so? I feel like I've seen Bruce Campbell hurt himself before. Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Specifically 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to talk about the post-credit scene, this was the best post-credit scene in the entire universe.
It was really good.
Because
the post-credit scene.
Yeah, because Doctor Strange is like, that curse is going to last a week or 3 weeks where he's punching himself and hurting himself. And then it cuts to him. He's bruised and battered, and he's punching himself. And then he looks at his hand and he stops. And then he looks at the screen because we've all been sitting in the theater looking at the post-credits. And he says, it's over! And that's the best one.
Yeah, it's good.
I defy you to find a better one.
Well, I always love isn't there a really good Stan Lee one? Where
I don't think he's ever in the post-credits. He's always in the movie proper.
I'm thinking of, it was in the middle of a movie when he's talking to the Watchers.
Oh yeah, that's Guardians 2.
That's a funny cameo, I guess. I think that's like one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos.
Yeah,
throughout it. But
another thing visually about the movie, it just reminded me, and part of this is, I haven't read a lot of Doctor Strange, but this just felt, there was something about it that reminded me of like Jack Kirby, and I'm remembering Steve Ditko drew him too back in the day, but I think mostly Jack Kirby. I think Steve Ditko drew him, but it just felt like, because remember in the Eternals, I talked about how those were like Jack Kirby's guys, and to make the movie so bland to look at, color palette wise.
Oh yeah.
Was just disappointing because
Yeah.
it's like Jack Kirby would have watched this and been like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for sucking all the life out of my drawings. And this felt like, you know, if Jack Kirby was at the theater, he'd be like, whoa,
Yeah.
they're bringing my stuff to life. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I just liked how the movie looked so much.
They look great. So they go to is it called the Inner Sanctum or the New York Sanctum?
Mm-hmm.
And they see there's a statue of Doctor Strange. It's a brooding, like almost Dark Knight level statue.
Oh, like the end of Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah. And there's a plaque that says like in honor of Doctor Strange who gave his life to defeat Thanos. So basically it's
Earth's
like
mightiest hero.
yeah, he's a huge hero.
Yeah.
Possibly even bigger than in his reality. And what that means he's dead.
Yeah.
So who do they run into but Mordo?
Mordo, yeah.
Mordo. And he seemingly does not hate Doctor Strange in this universe.
Well, we have a classic, which we're going to talk about next week on our podcast. We have a classic Lando Calrissian Harrison Ford moment where
oh, yeah.
Doctor Strange shows up like Han Solo in episode 5 and he goes, what are you, it seems tense. And then he's like, how you doing?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to do my Lando again.
Yeah.
And even to the point where he actually is double crossing him, just like Lando Calrissian. It's exactly the same.
Yeah. But he gets him inside, and they're talking about like this is what's happening. We need help. Are they asking for protection?
Yeah. They're asking about.
Oh, they need the book.
Book of Vishanti.
Yes. Wait. So that's not the same book that.
The dark book is called the Darkhold. The good book is the Vishanti.
And they need it because it'll counter her.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, Mordo but he drugs him.
Yeah.
And they are now prisoners to this. And it's explained that like them being here can cause like an inversion and it can destroy their reality by them even showing up. And it can also destroy his reality or both. So they need to. And then it was also just a nice touch that Rachel McAdams is like, you also are from another reality. What if you carry a disease we can't?
Yeah, that's
prevent?
a good touch.
So we need to study you and test you. So him and America are just in these two glass cages. They're trapped, and he can't use his powers.
Oh, and we've also found out that America's parents.
Oh yeah.
Like we find out her backstory. Her parents are like hanging out with her as a
very
young girl.
idyllic planet or reality, whatever.
And then America is stung by a bee. And it like opens up a portal, and her moms go flying into the portal.
And then she does
too. And she can't find her parents.
And she's assumed that they're dead.
Yeah. When the bee stung her and that happened, I was kind of like, oh, that's incredibly goofy. Very goofy. And then
but not for a child.
But then when the movie progressed and I was like, oh yeah, this is all like they're happening because of emotions. That's why this power happens. That makes sense.
Yeah, it was great.
I think when it happened that time though, I was like, really? That's how she lost her parents? But as the movie went on,
it's a kid, give her a break. I also liked in that same time there's a memory of Doctor Strange in this reality, where he's with Christine at dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that they were together, but they're not.
Yeah.
Because
I think.
Well, no, we know that because later on, so he's dead.
Yeah.
He sacrificed himself, and then later on, he asks her, "Does it work out between us?" And she said, "No, not really." So I think it's the same where he was just so dedicated to his thing that it never allowed her in the picture. So I think they did. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off.
It's okay.
I did not read that as that was this world's Doctor Strange's memory. I read that as that was his own memory.
Why would they have that?
Well, because the machine's like, this'll tell a memory, and it even tells one of America's memories, and she's not from the universe.
I just don't think it. I think it's this one because the watch is in it too, the same watch, and that's what she gives him.
Yeah. I think the watch is just like a constant, just as Christine is a constant.
Yeah, I just don't think it's the same.
Okay.
Because this is also because that Doctor Strange doesn't have facial hair,
and
then later on when the Illuminati is explaining to him what they had to kill him because of what he did, he looks like that guy in that memory.
Okay.
So I don't think it's his reality.
Okay.
Fight me.
Okay. Did she have red hair in the flashback?
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, next time we watch it, we will be on the lookout. If you have any thoughts, please tell them in a 5-star Apple review of this podcast. And please go to patreon.com.
Well, here's another thing.
Hey, this is the plug.
Yeah, shout it about the plug.
Patreon.com/Micah
They'll get it in the show notes.
And then it's in the show notes, and you can listen to Hidden Fortress and our watch along on Star Wars next
No
month.
one cares about Star Wars right now. We're talking about Doctor
Okay,
Strange.
but I'm just telling you, it's only $3.
But
That's the price of coffee. Less than.
Micah, please stop. So in this world, it's a service that they're providing. You pay for this to watch your memories.
Yeah.
Which means like in this reality, there's no privacy. They're tracking you on every level. Why? Like, how could they possibly have from his reality his memories?
Yeah.
If this is like a business and a service it provides.
I guess you're right.
Thank you.
I guess you're right.
I'll take my gloves off.
Isn't that though, like you're getting down to, like, I'm taking the gloves off. Like now I'm getting down to business. So you're putting your gloves on.
No, I'm taking them off.
Okay. So they've been captured. And I didn't know that Rachel McAdams could also pull off red hair. So great on her.
Come on, Micah. She can pull off literally anything.
Well, that's what
She's
I'm
the
learning.
best.
And now I just want to watch Game Night again.
Oh, gosh, that would be so good.
It's so funny.
I just saw in that show The Offer,
What's that again?
the whole Francis Ford Coppola show,
Oh, yes.
that I think on a future episode you will hear me complaining about. But I saw that Billy Magnuson is in it, and I follow him on Instagram. And I saw that he posted some pictures of him being in the show, like on set, hanging out with people. Like one with him and Miles Teller and stuff, because he's in the show. And they're like, he's like in Western getup.
Okay.
And so at first I'm like, what is he doing? And then I'm like sliding through, and then he has a picture of Robert Redford on there, and I was like,
was he playing Robert Redford?
I was like, va va boom. Billy Magnuson is playing Robert Redford in this show. Could things get hotter? That was fun to find out today. Still not going to watch the show.
Yeah. Well, what is it on?
It's like Showtime or something, I think.
Yeah, no one in
Or
the world
Paramount
owns
Plus,
Showtime.
I can't remember.
So don't. Oh, it's probably Paramount Plus because Paramount produced The Godfather. So.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so then Doctor Strange is brought before the Illuminati, and we sort of touched on it before, but we have.
I think I love that they. Sorry, go ahead.
We have Black Bolt.
Yep.
Who is an Inhuman, and when he speaks, he can just like cause havoc.
Well, according to Google, when I looked him up,
Okay.
his voice causes death.
Okay.
His voice is death.
Okay. And he premiered in Fantastic Four, and he is cool, and I like how it's not quite the original design of Black Bolt, but it's pretty. I mean, they didn't try to like realism up Black Bolt.
Does he look
looks
silly in the comic
nice and
books?
goofy like he does in the comic books.
Nice.
And I liked him a lot in this, and I was, for someone who's read like 4 comics that have him before they even reveal his power of this death thing, I was weirdly very excited to see Black Bolt in this movie.
That's cool. I was like, cool, some guy. They just milked it for all it was worth, and I thought that it's all earned at this point, and I loved it. So they show the Black Bolt guy, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then from there on out, it's like, oh, Peggy, right?
Yeah, Peggy Carter.
So did they still call her Captain America? I don't remember.
I think she's Captain Britain.
Did they say that? Because they said
I don't think they
something.
actually said anything in the movie.
Well, I think they do because they say, and Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay. So then I'm sure they did.
That was fun. I meant before seeing this movie, I saw some headline of something of like, why watching What If will it's good before watching Doctor Strange or something. And when I saw her, I was like, that's what that means.
Totally. Yeah. And then Monica Rambeau was Captain Marvel in this universe.
Very cool.
Instead of
I was excited to see her.
Brie Larson's character. And then Mr. Fantastic shows up. And when he does, someone in our audience goes, "Yes!"
And then there were a couple other rumblings that was
And there was
fun.
and Jordan thought after the movie, she was like, she was like, "Wow, I can't believe someone would react that heavily to John Krasinski."
No, over Sir Patrick,
Yeah.
which we already kind of knew he was going to be in it.
Right. We kind of knew he was in the movie, but I was like, no, Jordan, I don't think they were reacting to John Krasinski. This is opening night of a Marvel movie. People were excited to see Mr. Fantastic.
I just didn't know that. I guess I don't quite understand that people like Fantastic Four.
I mean,
because we haven't really ever gotten a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, Fantastic Four is like second to Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
from my child memory, I loved the first one.
Yeah.
Loved it so much.
But well, I guess I don't know about modern day, but
yeah.
I mean, Dan Slott's writing Fantastic Four now, so it's got to be good.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think X-Men 2 are probably about as popular. They're probably like top tier these days as well, because they've been top tier since the 80s.
Yep.
But yeah, Sir Patrick Stewart is in this as Charles Xavier.
Does he is that like the thing he rides in even in X-Men?
I don't think he has
different?
it. I think it was way different.
Okay, because it looked silly. But in a fun way. I'm not
this is a different
it.
universe way. This is universe 838 kind of way.
Yeah.
They also did something. Now this is nerdy rabbit hole, Jordan. And this is so stupid that I'm going to say this. But they identify this universe as Universe 616.
Yeah.
Which the comics have, Marvel Comics is always Universe 616 unless they go outside of that. And I thought there was a tiny missed opportunity. But maybe it would have made people mad. But they should have called it a different universe so that it's like the comics are in one universe.
Yeah.
And then the comic book movies are in like 670 or something.
Micah, that's cool.
I thought that would have been cool.
But I do understand upsetting people.
Yeah. But it would have upset the people that they already have their ticket every time they make a movie. So
well, it's like, even if it was like 617, like it's adjacent.
I know
right
that
there.
I thought that because they literally like adapt the comic books, so it doesn't really make sense that they're in that same universe.
Yeah.
But I understand I'm getting in a very nerdy, nitty-gritty way on that. But they're all talking.
So they tell him it's not Wanda that we're worried about. It's you.
Yeah.
Because
this was great.
Then they explain the Doctor Strange of our reality is not a hero, but sometimes it makes sense to lie to really cut through it.
Yeah.
So we had to make him the hero. In reality, Thanos shows up in our reality, and our Doctor Strange believes the only way to defeat him is using the Darkhold.
Yeah.
Is by consulting
Very
that.
cool.
Yes. And it even got to a point where he knew it wasn't going to work, and he continued with it anyway. And it destroyed him, and it was destructive.
Yeah.
So then, by the end of their Thanos story...
And it shows them, like, up on the Titan planet.
And Thanos was dead.
Yeah. So,
that
like,
was cool.
It worked. They got him on that planet instead of how our Avengers failed on that planet.
Oh, wait. Wait, what? Say that again.
Because remember in Infinity War, some of the Avengers are up on the Titan planet, and they fight Thanos, and they fail.
That was the same planet?
Yeah, in this shot, it was like this dimension's version of that planet.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's cool.
They fought, and they beat him there with the help of the Darkhold. And then, because he used it, Doctor Strange is like, you have to kill me. Because I'll be too powerful. And so they kill him. And then they tell everyone on Earth, like, he's the one who did it all.
Gotta say, loved the Black Bolt thing with that, too. Because I don't know anything about Black Bolt at all. And prior to this even happening, like minutes before, and he's using sign language, I was like, cool, there's a character that is mute or deaf. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then he uses his power, and I like how he does it by saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's all. It was just like, I don't know anything about this reality other than it's kind of similar, but the emotional weight is even here too, within this brief amount of time we have with it.
Yeah. So before we move on from this, do you think that in our reality, when they introduce it, do you think that John Krasinski is going to play Mr. Fantastic?
Oh, I don't know.
This is just a purely like guessing, because they can say yes, or because it is a multiverse, it's easy they could just cast someone else if they wanted to.
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that it will be him.
Yeah.
I do hope though, if it is him, because he's a huge known person, that at least one of the people is someone we don't know who it is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it'll probably be him, and if they cast him, I would be pretty surprised if they don't cast Emily Blunt as well.
Because of just what you've heard.
Yeah, because people have been fan casting those two for many, many years now, and if he's willing to do it, I would think she'd be willing to do it, and I think it'd be cool. I mean, they're married in the comics, they're married in real life. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. I was also, I still thought, I think his name's Jonathan Groff, the architect from The Matrix, the new Matrix movie.
Okay.
When I saw that movie, the guy from Mindhunter, I was just like, oh, this guy is...
Yeah.
He's Mr. Fantastic to me.
I think he would be a good Mr. Fantastic.
He just looks so much like him. And
he does. He yeah.
Oh, man. But if you look at, like, current Fantastic Four comics, it's like Marvel Comics also heard them say that they want John Krasinski because he like looks like John Krasinski now. Yeah. So
does he look at the artist and does the gym?
Yeah, he smirks. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But yeah, so they're all there, and they're like, Doctor Strange, we can't trust you, yada yada. But then Professor X like instructs him where to get to the Vishanti.
This is when Wanda starts breaking in though.
Yes, because at this point, she is on this temple.
Oh, gosh, dude.
Okay, you want to talk about it. Go.
She is taken over Carmitage, and she is doing her magic with the book. And so there is a moment where what she's doing is dream walking. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And she is, which is basically she can go into another version of herself and take over that version. And so early in the movie, when it's established what she wants, I did think, but isn't there a version of her in that reality where she's a mom?
Uh-huh.
So how would that work? And then they say that. They establish it.
Yeah.
Right. And then they establish this dream walking thing, and it's like, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
So that's her plan. And I think she's testing it at first. So she finds a version of herself where she has her children, and she's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And she's like fighting internally with her other version of herself, and she takes her over.
Yes. I can't believe I was forgetting this.
I thought it
scene.
all looked so cool too. Like things were moving. Her coffee cup was like the ocean. It was just
oh yeah, and like her picture
interesting.
frame was looking at her and stuff.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
So what did you think? So when she takes over herself, she is kind of like gathering herself together, and then she looks at the camera. She breaks the fourth wall.
I dug it.
Do you think that was a WandaVision thing?
It
like
kind of
nod,
made me think of that.
Like a nod to that?
Yeah, and it was also like, it was the kind of thing where like, yes, she looked at the camera, but also she like it almost felt like she didn't, So
Micah, she looked at the camera.
Really? Okay.
I think so.
I dug it. And it felt like also like, okay, this is like, she is now like crossed over.
She's in. What rips her out is, so Wong is strung up and he's a hostage.
Yeah.
And then that character, I think her name was Sarah, sneaks up. I thought she was dead.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to destroy the book. Well, he's like, let me go, like, free me so I can destroy the book. And she's like, I would never let you do that. Because he is Chancellor Supreme. Chancellor?
No, you're getting Star Wars confused. Sorcerer Supreme.
Sorcerer Supreme. So she sacrifices herself. She
does destroy the book, which surprised me.
She destroys the book. All of this is just like, this is so cool. I've seen so many flipping Marvel movies, and I don't know what's happening and what's going to happen. Love it. And she dies. And it was pretty nuts how she died, and that we saw it all. Yeah. I thought.
It was crazy. And then she finds out from Wanda, that the book is like based on these runes that are on this like enchanted mountain.
And then I just thought, we better go to that effing mountain.
And they go immediately.
So they just do the circle thing. Yeah. They get to as far as they go.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And gosh, it looks so cool. The design is awesome. It reminded me somewhat of in Infinity War and Endgame, the stone where Black Widow dies.
Yeah.
Like just that cliff face stuff. And then they're walking through it. These demons there, like these like guardians.
You know, it's a funny little detail that I just realized is
What?
Wong shows up and she's like, "Couldn't you have teleported us any closer?" And he says, like, "You can't use magic up here." And then she grabs him and flies away with magic.
Well, I think he was meeting his magic because she gets there and she finds out it's all for her. So I think that she was.
It's
allowed.
pretty funny though. I mean, just kind of like
let the movie take.
I'm
you
not saying
away.
it's bad. It's just kind. I'm pointing it out as like that's kind of goofy.
We're fighting. But
it's not a perfect movie. Come on.
Joe, you're right. There are these cool demon dudes there.
Mm-hmm.
And at first it's like S is about to go down. And then it's like, no, we're here to guard you. You're
they bow down to her.
So cool. And she gets on that thing. She's like, this isn't a tomb.
Yeah.
This is a throne. And we see the giant, what is it called?
Statue of her.
It's not a statue, though, when it's carved into the wall. It's called something else.
Oh,
a relief or something?
I don't know.
Of her.
Yeah.
Man, I loved that so much. It was so cool. It's almost just like it was divine providence that this would all happen. Kind of weird stuff.
So then now we're caught up, and
Yeah.
the other version of her that she's possessing is now in the 838 universe.
Yeah.
And she's going through and she's killing all of these robots that, if you didn't catch, are like Ultron robots.
Oh, okay.
So something with Ultron happened differently in this universe. Fun.
In the trailer with all the oil on her face.
Yeah.
Was it lit red in the trailer?
Well, even in this movie, it didn't look like it was oil until like way later. It always kind of looked like blood.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty intense.
Yeah.
And she's just ripping apart these robots, and she's looking more and more intense. I mean, she's fully. It is nuts that this is like a fully good guy who this is not brainwashing like Winter Soldier or something like that. She is legit by her own choice a villain, and she's about as powerful as it can get because. And this scene was crazy. The Illuminati comes out to meet her. And I don't remember the order. I do remember Black Bolt was first.
First is Black Bolt.
And he's like...
But
okay.
Sorry. I remember. Mr. Fantastic is talking her down.
Yeah.
And saying, like, we will do what we need to do to stop you. You are not getting through. Black Bolt will kill you. When he opens his mouth, you're dead, basically. And she says, what mouth?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a mouth. And he speaks. He still tries to speak and implodes.
Yeah, his head implodes.
Gross.
It was pretty graphic.
A lot of the stuff in this movie, I am surprised they got away with.
Yeah.
But it also felt like, in a way, we've had these movies and shows. Well, we've had these movies for so long now that the viewers, like, yeah, I think kids are still going to see this. But I think they are playing into, like, people who've been here from the beginning can handle this.
Yeah.
You know?
And yes, it's graphic and like maybe some kids won't be able to handle it, but it's not like I mean
they're all violent.
Give me some nice blood in a PG-13. Let's
Give
go.
me a zombie.
It's not a PG movie. You know that a 13-year-old is wanting to see this.
Yeah.
Come on.
So then he goes down. And then she like unravels Captain Marvel or Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, like shreds him like a what are those called? The silly putty, those like scooper things that turn them into strings.
And then what's crazy though is she said, "Are you married? Do you have a wife?" And he said, "Yes." Or do you have a wife and kids? And he says, "Yes." And she said, "Good. Then there will be someone left to take care of them." And it was like, oh, that's nuts. Even coming from a person who's hell-bent on being with her own kids.
Yeah. But this whole scene, I was like, I would say, because there are restraints that these movies have to follow. You know what I mean? And there's restraints that like a comic book story has to follow. And I was like kind of shocked that they did this because this character has now become so evil, and she's like cold-blooded killing these people.
And like it's a painful death.
Yeah.
For him. I think, for everyone. It's nuts. So then she fights Captain Marvel and Captain Britain.
Yeah.
For a while. And I thought the action was good here.
Slices Captain Britain with her shield.
Jeez, that was crazy.
How did she kill Captain Marvel?
She
I can't remember.
like brought a statue down on her. Like a giant statue. And smashed her.
And then meanwhile, America finally is able to like shatter the glass.
Yeah, she punches it and shatters part of it, and is
Yeah.
like, maybe I can control this.
Yeah. And then her and Strange has been fighting Mordo for a little bit. And then I'm kind of,
No, I know. I'm just saying that she's still not out of it yet, and they don't know what to
Okay.
do. And Sir Patrick Stewart shows up.
Okay, I don't remember. What are you talking? Go ahead then. I don't know what you're talking
Wanda
about.
is like walking up to take America, but before she can get to them,
Yeah.
is it Mr. X?
Yes. Yeah. Professor X.
Professor X shows up.
And he goes in the mindscape.
Yeah.
This I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And when this happened, I was like, okay, so this is how they're gonna kind of work this out, so that this character isn't evil anymore.
I have a question.
Okay.
What can he do?
He is whatever mind stuff is.
Telekinesis.
Yeah, but I think
And
he's also
telepathy?
telekinetic, I think.
Telekinesis and telekinetics is the same thing. But telepathy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he navigates in her mind, and he goes and he finds her in this rubble, which would be in Sokovia or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's the TV on, and he's like, Wanda, there you are. I think there's been like, I'm going to get you out of here. It's like the real Wanda, the Wanda we know and love. And he's trying to get her out, but then like the red like spell comes upon them all, and then she kills
It's all scary.
Professor X. Yeah, it's scary. And I mean, as a trained viewer on these movies, I really thought like, okay, he's going to fail, but then someone else is going to go in the mindscape. They're going to get her out and release her from her body. I did not think that, like...
I don't think it was ever her.
Oh, well, I think that's her inner self.
I don't think
like,
it was. I think it was a decoy.
Oh, okay.
And I could be
But
wrong.
what I'm saying is I thought that was going to happen,
Yeah.
and at the end of the movie, it'd be like, oh my gosh, I was really wrong. Can I have redemption? But it didn't go that way at all.
No.
And so then they're finally running. They're getting away.
Continues to be scary.
Yeah, more craziness ensues, and then they get to the Book of the Vishanti.
Yeah.
Anything else? Did we... You remembered every frame of this movie,
I guess
it seems.
so. Maybe that's why I was so tired at the end of it. But that's all that stuff was so scary. I like when at certain angles her eyes glowed red.
Yeah.
Give me more of that.
Glued red.
Glued red.
Past tense.
Well, I guess in this reality though so Christine has that watch still.
Yeah.
That even Doctor Strange has in his reality, and it's broken.
Yep.
And that is the key to open the door to get to you called it the Vishanti.
Yeah.
So there's the book.
Yeah. And it was a great little moment. I'm trying not to cover every detail, but then we just keep doing it. But there was that great moment where he's like trying to figure out the key, and he's like, it's something only I would know. It'd have to be something only I would know. And then she suggests the watch.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it's like now he's starting to learn like he isn't the only one. He has to give his ego away.
Yeah.
Like, and then they're at the Book of the Vishanti finally. And I mean, you gotta start covering this, Jordan,
Okay.
because you remembered everything, and I'm remembering as you explain it.
He gets the book out. He gets it down. I think he even opens it. And then Wanda catches up to them and starts taking over her powers again, America's powers.
Yeah.
And she like burns the page that he needs.
Yep. Yeah.
And our dog is scaring us. He's making so many weird noises.
Oh, he's not scaring me. I would never be scared of him.
So America is thus afraid. Portal opens.
Right.
And I believe that
so Wanda gets America, takes her back to
616.
616. And then they go into like the dilapidated universe that's falling over Christine and
which is
Steven.
a different reality.
Different reality, yeah. And then they go and they find this other Doctor Strange.
And this is what I'm thinking. We're pretty far, like we're coming up on Act 3.
Yeah.
Where is this zombie guy, Doctor Strange, that I've been seeing in trailers?
Yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah.
He's prominently displayed. Please don't tell me it's just a quick thing.
Uh-huh.
And I'm getting nervous. I gotta be honest.
Okay, you were.
Because I was very much looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But Wanda gets America, and that's happening. So
Yeah.
they go to this, like you said, it's like it's inverting on itself. It's being destroyed version. They go to that Doctor Strange. He seems darker,
Uh-huh.
and you
And
find
then I start laughing with glee with the audacity of anyone in blockbuster film cinema history to go, what are we going to do for Doctor Strange? 2 Doctor Stranges to fight. What kind of spells are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to use, one of them is going to get thrown against a piano and think to himself, what if I attacked him with literal flying notes? To which I'm just laughing in the theater like, this is why I want to go see a blockbuster.
Yes.
I want to see magicians
And it was
throwing magical notes at each
a
other.
good amount of time.
And Danny Elfman's like, hell yeah. He's just going nutso on the score. And these notes are flying back and forth at each other. And then they get into this conglomerate ball. And they're like pushing against each other. And then Doctor Strange looks at a harp. And he's able to gather one more note from the harp to like turn the tide.
But, okay. That's so cool. Don't want to take away from it.
No, you shouldn't. It's one of the coolest things that they've ever done in this universe.
It is. Hands down.
I mean,
one of the
come on.
coolest things. About to be, in my opinion, overtaken by the next coolest thing, which is the zombie thing. But before that, so they find out that this version of him has used the dark hold. He has it with him, like on him. And that's why they're fighting, because Doctor Strange needs it. But it's okay. So at the Vishanti with the good book, that page was destroyed. So pretty much Doctor Strange does not have a choice anymore. He has to use the dark hold.
Yeah.
To overtake Wanda.
But it has a big toll on the carrier as well.
This is something that I know that when I watch this movie again, it will be clear. But at the time, I was kind of lost. Where it's revealed that this Doctor Strange is using the dark hold. He is like devoted his life to it, and that third eye appears.
Yeah.
I originally thought that, okay, this version of him has 3 eyes.
Yeah.
And I just went with that.
Yeah.
And then by the end of this movie, it's like, okay, no, that's a dark hold thing, which makes sense because of the third eye.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, so then he's able to get the book from him. And then is that when he portals out of there? No. That's when he then like takes over this mansion. He sets up like a seance.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what are you going to do? Your universe, Doctor Strange, is here, right here. You're that person. And he goes,
who says they have to be alive?
Yeah. I mean, it's set up better than we just set it up. You know, the line makes sense. And then it cuts to the rooftop where they buried the old Doctor Strange. And that's when I was like, oh, I wish I would have thought that they were for sure going to do this. Like, they planted that.
Not only is he a zombie, he's grotesque, guys.
And it looks pretty makeup-y for the most part.
It looks good.
And I will say Benedict is doing some interesting acting. He's really playing into it. You can tell he's having a hell of a fun time.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. And so because he's taking over a dead body, it basically invites lost souls to try and
give
take
me
him
those
down.
lost souls, baby.
So he reanimates his corpse.
Yeah.
And he goes to that mountain to take on Wanda and save America. And we don't really know what's going on yet. But all we know is he tells Christine, like, I need you to protect my body in this reality.
Yeah.
Because lost souls are going to come and try and destroy me and stuff. And I'm just like, what? I can't even like fathom what's about to happen.
Yeah. And
then,
these are like all black lost souls, but they don't look blobby.
No.
They're like really defined features.
They
look
truly
crazy.
remind me of Evil Dead 2.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is so fun. So they're like swirling all around him, and they're
movie
saying
rules.
like,
"This movie rules."
They're like, "Stop doing this, or else we will take you away with us. You cannot take over a dead body. That is like the worst of the worst. It's evil." But he did it for the sake of saving one person.
And then it's better than that because you're like, okay, cool. He's just gonna fight these little things. No. They try to get him, and he turns them into a soul cape.
So
then he flies around with undead souls, and then he goes to fight Wanda.
He fights her with them.
Yes.
He makes them do his dark bidding.
I mean, this just feels like, okay, you announced you were making a Doctor Strange movie. He's been in the universe for a while. this sort of feels like, now that I've had a day to think about it, like this is the promise of bringing an insane character like this.
Yes.
And it makes I want Sam Raimi to do whatever he wants to do. And I want Scott Derrickson to do whatever they want to do. But whoever does the next movie, Marvel, you got to let them continue to go ham.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they will, because I think this movie is going to do just fine.
Make a lot of money.
Yeah. But yeah, it's cool. And they fight for a long time.
I like that they do cut back to Christine and she has to fight off them too.
Yeah. Looking great.
Okay, fine. It's because of what I said about Billy Magnuson, huh?
Yeah, I'm just stating facts, yeah.
So yeah, they're the like lost souls are like surrounding Wanda, and she is, I guess, thwarted for a time.
Yeah.
And he's saving America, but then she breaks free. By the way, Wong's back.
Yeah.
He fell off a cliff but didn't die and came back. That was like the second time I thought he was dead.
That's so funny to me that you would have thought he died at any point.
But then Wanda breaks free and she, attacks Doctor Strange and puts whatever she zaps him with. It is like there's nothing he can do now physically.
Yeah.
So then he's like looking at America and is like, that you've been able to control your power the whole time. Believe in yourself and do it.
But he also is given the choice where he can take her power. She says, like, do it.
She does. She's like, I understand now.
But like Christine said, he's always been the one holding the knife, and he's got to let someone else hold the knife.
Yeah.
So he's going to make some big character development here. And he lets her do it. And what she does is she finally figures out how to use her powers.
And whoever, the choreography, the storyboarding, just thank you for having her do like such a comic book pose of a punch.
Yeah.
It looks so freaking cool. And it was in the trailer.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, it was so cool.
And so she starts punching stars at her and stuff, and it's cool. But then she's overtaken.
Uh-huh.
And then she pulls a trick not a trick, but she shows Wanda. She puts Wanda in the dimension that she was trying to take over.
I love this.
And the kids see her and they freak out.
Yeah.
Because she wants to take over that Wanda in there.
Yeah.
And it's pretty emotional.
Yeah.
I thought it really was good.
It was crazy too, because she
I thought this good scene was good.
She throws that Wanda away, and the sons are like crying and freaking out, and she snaps at them. Like, the acting was really good. She really snaps at them, like, shut up.
Yeah.
And she's like, I would never hurt anyone. I would never hurt you. And they look at their mom, who's hurt.
Yeah.
And like I just said, the acting's so good. Just the expression on her face, she realizes what she's doing and who she's affecting. And she is just broken down. And so this version of herself, I really think that was intentional how she was scarred, where she was scarred on her forehead where Vision has his Infinity Stone.
Okay.
I just feel like that was a choice.
Yeah.
To just, I don't know, make it full circle.
Like
this version of Wanda accepted his death and has grieved and is moving on.
Yeah.
And she says to this Wanda, like, just know that they will be loved. And it's like, that's a tearjerker.
Yeah.
Right there.
And then, that's like the emotional climax of the movie. And it's been achieved. What happens to our Wanda after that? Is she banished or?
No, she stays in our reality. She comes back. And
then I can't recall what happens at the very end of all the details to lose. Well, tell him.
Well, she destroys the castle.
Oh, she destroys it on herself.
Oh, on herself. She kills herself.
Yeah, and it's pretty, like, we see the rubble fall on her.
Oh, it's crazy, too, because the zombie version of Doctor Strange is still there because he can't move. So he dies with her in a way.
Yeah.
And I do, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it is, like, killing that version of himself. Like hopefully, by the next movie, he's learned what he's learned in this movie, and moved on.
Yeah. It's really good.
Even talking about it, it's like, wow, this is emotional.
It makes me want to go see it again.
Me too. And so then we go back to our Doctor Strange, and he's fine. He did it.
Yeah.
That's going to be okay. America's coming for him and Christine. And he tells her, I love you.
Uh-huh.
And I forget what she says to him, but it was also just really wonderful.
Yeah.
And nice. Oh, I think he says too, she asks him about his reality and he said, I wish I could show you. And she said, I would like that, but I can't.
Yeah.
You know? Because
it is sweet and nice.
And I think it's also just like, it's just never going to happen. We have to move on.
Yeah. And then he gets back and then he opens his third eye as he's walking down New York.
I don't think.
And it cuts to directed by Sam Raimi.
Which means that because he used the dark hold, it's just.
Yeah, I think it means that like darkness has entered him.
Yeah.
I don't think it has. Yeah, that's what I think it means.
Yeah.
Because I think it is a little ambiguous.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it means.
And then.
Well, before we talk about that.
Okay.
So I think this movie's great. I'm so happy that Sam Raimi has another win. And he rules, and I'm just happy that he was able to make a movie. So there's that. To put on my film critic hat a little bit, I'll point out just a couple of things that I thought were not as good. I thought the pacing in the first half hour of the movie was
quick.
Weirdly fast and kind of jarring in a way that didn't feel intentional.
Do you think that it was just they just rushed it? They just kind of botched it because there was so much to get through?
No, because the movie is not very long. Weirdly enough, I just feel like the movie could have done with maybe 5 to 10 more minutes, even if it's just like the shots were a little bit longer at the beginning of like the personal sequences and maybe like one extra scene.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I noticed about Doctor Strange, which I told you about this last night and you weren't as like into it, but maybe someone will agree with me. I really like this character. I like him in the comics. I like him in the movies. But, and I like all these characters I'm about to say, but Thor, Star-Lord, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange are all crazy, egotistical guys. That's fine. But they're also quippy, egotistical guys. Mm-hmm. And I don't
think Thor is much.
Yeah, well, okay.
Well, I think he's actually learned to like he's acquired a sense of humor.
Yeah, I like that actually. Yeah, but you know they're these larger than life characters, and I like that about them. But I do feel like it's weird to have someone who is in the dark arts or not the dark arts, but who uses magic and stuff to hear a word like Illuminati and respond Illuma whatty. I just think that that's weird, and I think it'd be. I wish that this Doctor Strange that we had was maybe a little bit more earnest. He can still be an egotistical jerk, but maybe he was a little more like, it's magic. This is how it works. This is what we do. Kind of, I feel like he was kind of like that in No Way Home.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but in this movie, he's a little bit more like, ooh, there's a joke I can tell right now. Or like, huh, you think that there's other dimensions? That's kind of ridiculous. And it's like, it's not ridiculous to someone who has been to other dimensions and you who have fought in like purple giants and stuff. Like, nothing should be ridiculous to you.
Yeah.
That's just something, and I think that's from Doctor Strange 1. You know, I think that's how they chose to adapt the character. But, and even beyond that, you know, and this was pointed out in a Patrick Willems video, which I thought was funny, is like, we do have this universe and it's full of all these characters that like all this ridiculous stuff happens. Crazy stuff that could never happen in our world, which is fine. I love that. But you know, then when someone turns to Spider-Man in No Way Home and they go, my name's Otto Octavius, they laugh that his name is Otto Octavius and go, seriously?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, that's not weird if you also just fought a lizard. It's not weird that someone's name is Otto Octavius.
Like if people are like going to this movie, they have bought that a man's name is Otto Octavius.
Right. Like you don't have to keep making excuses for yourself, you know? So I would like to see them move away from that, but keep it in Guardians because it works really well in the Guardians movies because that's like the tone of those movies. But it just feels like every other movie is
what's good about Guardians, I think that it works for is they're in space. So like in a way, like all they know is random.
Right.
So
right.
that's actually normal to them.
So they're like apathetic toward it.
Yeah. So, but when a new random thing happens and they do have a reaction to it, it just doesn't matter to me as much.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. No, I agree with you. But those are like my nitpicky things. And when I left the theater, I thought to myself, I think I like Doctor Strange 1 better because I think it has a little bit better of a story. But after we talked about it, I think I like Doctor Strange 2 better, which means I think this is an A-tier Marvel and one of the better
That's
Marvel
really good.
movies.
Dang it.
And if they continue to let people push the boundaries, I just don't see any reason for this universe to slow down at all.
I know.
So any closing because I know the last thing we're gonna say is gonna be very, very sad. That little mid-credit sequence.
Yeah, this movie was just so good. I don't know. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Marvel's in a good place right now, but in a way, they've never been in a bad place. Because with me us going back through them, and it's like, dang it, actually most of these are good.
I know. Most of them are
And
pretty darn good.
Moon Knight, which I know by the time even now it's ended by now, and we still have to watch the last episode. It's like this has been going on for this long, and I'm now like discovering a new favorite character for me. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not tired of it yet.
Yeah.
Even though anytime a new thing does come out, before it comes out, like it's announced, I'm always like, oh gosh, I'm so exhausted thinking about it.
I know.
And then it comes out and it's like,
woohoo!
It's like they know that, you know?
Yeah.
And they prove me wrong every time.
Except for Eternals.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then there's a mid-credit scene where Charlize Theron shows up as the character Clea.
You know that character?
No, I've never read anything with her, but she's a romantic interest of, I think she marries Doctor Strange at some point. And she appears and she's like, let's go on an adventure. And that's the credit scene. Now, again, as it's to believe, most of the credit scenes don't really affect anything, or they're like very vague and don't really affect anything. So I don't know, but I will say I've been a huge fan of Charlize Theron. But after we watched Fast and Furious, I was like, as you've heard in our series on Fast and Furious, I was like, oh, she's atrocious.
I think I designated her as the worst villain of all time.
I think you did, and I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling that happened where when she showed up in the movie, I went, ugh. That's what I thought to myself.
Me too.
And that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Because I think she's really talented.
Time and time again, like Marvel is great at casting.
Yeah.
So I think for this one, I'm just going to have to put my faith in them for a movie that's going to come out in 5 years.
Yeah, I know. By then,
I'll have forgotten.
There'll be a scene in Doctor Strange 3 where he's like, "Yeah, me and Clea went on an adventure and got married, and then she died," and it'll be like, "Oh, we never even got that character."
I worried for nothing.
But yeah, as we've said in Fast and the Furious, Fast and the Furious, Charlize Theron, whoopsh, you're on notice, and Miles Teller, whoopsh, you're on notice. But hopefully in 2 weeks, we're going to be flying high with Tom Cruise's return to theaters. And I'll go, Miles Teller, you're off notice and you're back on the roster.
Okay.
So thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you had fun.
Yep.
Next week, we'll be right back into Star Wars with The Empire Strikes Back.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And I think the rest of the George Lucas Star Wars movies, I believe, will be uninterrupted for the next 5 weeks.
You're welcome.
So, take that, everybody.
Sorry for all the Fantastic Beasts talk you're gonna hear soon.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. I want to just apologize now because by now you've heard the Fantastic Beasts episode, but you've not heard me complain about a movie I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, here's a little peek behind the curtain, folks. We are. Let's see.
No, don't tell them. It's not fun.
We're 8 episodes ahead right now. So, should I cut that, Jordan?
Do you? I don't know.
All right, see you guys.
Yeah, bye.